Time to learn some more terms. Hey there, Brew Crew. Welcome back to this series where I explain some of the common terms, jargon, and acronyms that you'll probably run across in the tabletop gaming hobby. This week we're going to begin focusing on mechanisms. Now, in case you don't remember from my last video, a game's mechanism is a defining characteristic of its gameplay and is basically what moves the game along. There are a crazy amount of mechanisms out there to choose from, some more popular than others, some that are fantastic but rarely used, and I had a hell of a time trying to figure out just how I was going to organize them all into different videos. At the end of the day, I decided that just going through them alphabetically would be the easiest, and so today we're going to start with mechanisms beginning with the letters A through H. Now, just like in my last video, I did not include any mechanisms with terms that are common enough in everyday language that most people would be familiar with them, unless there was something different or unique about the way that they are used to describe board games. I also didn't want to overload new gamers with too much information all at once, so I'm mainly covering some of the more common or popular mechanisms. Now, depending on how the rest of the series goes, I may come back to this topic to cover some of the more obscure mechanisms later. Okay, let's get going. Action point allowance. Players are given a number of points each round, which can be spent to take actions. Sometimes all actions cost 1 point, and sometimes the cost varies from action to action. Area control or area majority. In an area control game, players are usually attempting to add or maneuver their units around a map of some sort, trying to control a territory by having the most of their units within that territory. Having control of a territory at the end of a round may score you points, like in Ethnos, or it may be a winning condition. Auction. In an auction game, sometimes called a bidding game, resources are distributed to the player who is willing to pay the most, either money or goods, for those resources. In some games, you'll do this openly by going around the table and either outbidding the previous bid or passing until only one player remains, who then pays the amount that they bid to take the items. Some games involve a blind bid, which involves players choosing the amount that they would be willing to pay in secret and then simultaneously revealing it. There are several other types of auctions as well, but these are the two most common. Cube Tower. The Cube Tower is a rarely used mechanism which involves dropping cubes into a tower, inside of which are small ledges that cubes may get caught on. What drops out of the bottom of the tower may determine the actions that are available for the round or the outcome of a battle. Very few games use this mechanism, but some notable games are Edge of Darkness, Marrakesh, Amerigo, and Shogun. I just included it because it's one of my favorites. Deck building. Deck building games feature a small and relatively ineffective deck of cards for each player, but over the course of the game you will use the income generated by each hand of cards you draw to purchase new cards to add to your deck, thereby improving its effectiveness. Often these games have you purchasing cards from either a set market of cards or from a dynamic market that changes after each purchase. Deck builders often also have you competing to accomplish a task as well, such as adding points cards to your deck, like Dominion, or moving across the board to gather treasures, like in Clank. Deduction. Players try to discover hidden information. This may be the answer to a puzzle, or it could be another player's secret identity. the latter of which is often described as a social deduction game. Dexterity. Dexterity games are all about the physical manipulation of the game in some way which requires skill. This could include flicking, balancing, or attempting to hit a target. Dice rolling. A dice rolling game involves, wait for it, rolling dice. The dice will determine some type of outcome. However, just because a game has dice that you roll doesn't necessarily make it a dice rolling game. In order for it to be considered a mechanism, the dice rolling needs to be the primary focus of the gameplay. Drafting. This is a tricky mechanism to cover because there are a few different types of drafting mechanisms out there. Drafting can be done using many different items within the game, but most frequently it's used for selecting either cards or dice. If a game involves players receiving a hand of cards, choosing one, and then passing the remaining cards to the next player in turn order, continuing this until players have a full hand of cards, this is considered a closed draft mechanism. Instead, a game may have a player choosing from a visible pool of shared resources, selecting them one by one in turn order. This is considered an open draft, as all of the information is out in the open. Dice drafting involves players rolling a pool of dice and then selecting a die in turn order. The action provided by the die is often determined by the number on the die that's drafted. Hand management. Hand management games reward efficiency by encouraging players to play cards in a specific group or sequence. Often cards can be played for multiple purposes, leading to more difficult decisions. Hidden movement. Typically, these games involve most players at the table trying to find a single player who's using different means to move secretly around a map. Finding the hidden character may be the only goal of the game, or it may only be the first step in completing your objective. Hidden role. In a hidden role game, players are secretly assigned a role, usually at the beginning of the game, which may determine their objective or may provide additional scoring opportunities for certain tasks. Highest, lowest scoring. In this type of game, a player's lowest score from multiple potential scoring opportunities will be their final score. This type of game rewards the diversification of strategy rather than just pushing hard on one goal. Alright everyone, that is it for this first mechanism entry in this series. Let me know in the comments which of these mechanisms you enjoy, and make sure to sub and look out for the next video where we'll cover mechanisms I through P. And until next time, let's get another round for the table.